Lots to talk about. Lots to talk about at the Arnold 2025. Incredible show.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. And we're back and we're live for another edition of Heavy Muscle Radio. It is the Arnold Recap Show. Of course, I'm here with the technician, Chris Aceto, and it was great, Chris, hanging out with you this entire weekend. Did some great wrap-ups, some great coverage of the show. The final wrap-up might have been the greatest of all. We had Jay Cutler, 4-time Mr. Olympia. We had 7-time Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath in there. And we even had briefly 8-time Mr. Olympia, Ronnie Coleman. That's a lot of Olympias, as well as we had the head judge, Steve Weinberg, to give his opinion about why Derek Lunsford won the show. You are the coach of the weekend. I have to give you the VIP Coach of the Weekend award because you almost swept. You almost had a full sweep, right? You had Ollie in the men's physique. You had Derek in the open, and then you were third in the classic with the Grego. So you were very close. Has anyone ever had a full sweep?
It was 1-3-6 in the open. First, third, and sixth. Akeem was sixth.
Right. Yeah, but I don't know if anyone's ever won all 3 divisions in the same show, have they? Hani came close to that probably once, or twice, but
no. But let's see. Did I had the Arnold 1995 though? I swept that with Laura won the women's and Mike Frank.
Oh, that's right. You want to hear something funny? I'm glad you brought that up, Chris. I had at least 4 people. I was outside for those of you who've never been to the Arnold, outside of the convention center, Dr. Bob Goldman donated a statue of Arnold. It's like him hitting that twisting back shot, and everyone takes pictures by it. So Sid and I did a wrap up. It was like 20 degrees out there. We were fucking freezing our nuts off, as my father would say. We were doing this wrap up, and people were coming up to me and interviewing. They said, "Can we interview you for our social media channel?" I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
3 separate people that had no relation to each other thought that I was Mike Francois.
That's strange. I had breakfast with Mike Francois on the Sunday before the show because I went out there so late.
So Mike, who won the Arnold 20 years ago or 30 years ago on his birthday in 1995, who lives in Columbus, Ohio. He and I obviously are long lost brothers because 3 separate people thought that I was Mike Francois. One started doing an interview and calling me, asking me how I pronounce my last name. Is it Francis or Francois? I said it's Palumbo, but it's close. I said.
I had someone wanted to know if I was related to Gavin Newsom.
I think that's someone in the comments section of our show. That's who that was.
Said, no, but Ellen is my brother.
Ellen, hold on. What is it? I see Xavier's there. Did Chris Aceto see Sean? Did you see Sean Ray?
No, but that's one of the top. I did say.
That's the topic, though. Yeah, that's the topic.
The topic, I did say.
Sean said that you're no coach, number one, and that you don't know what you're doing. And you obviously got lucky, I guess, with Derek winning the show. I
said to Bob Chick, I went up to Bob Chick, and I said, "Where's that idiot, your partner?" Sugar Sean. You can't make it up, Dave. You cannot make it up.
So Sean had nothing to say about the fact that that you would that the
It's
Derek
called
on
the
show?
complete shut up, because if he didn't like how Derek looked, how did Andrew Jack look?
Yeah. Well, because there was a video, he was saying, I don't even know what the heck he was talking about. He was like confusing the fact that Chris Cormier was there training with him, and then you were down there.
Dave. Sorry, the key person is me.
Yes.
John, no, I don't go to the gym, even though I did go to the gym with Andrew and was a star.
I heard you were putting him through the aceto depletion workout.
I watched a man.
The ebook is going to be coming out in the next 2 weeks. The aceto depletion workout. It's called the ADW for short, and it's a $5.99 for the download. All proceeds will go to the Fareed Aceto bodybuilding fund to fund him for the next 10 years, his bodybuilding endeavors. To pay for Fiber Lies for Chris. Yeah.
He's primarily funded through me, but Carnivore and Gerard Dente are generous enough to have him under contract.
That's right.
He missed his flight. His flight got canceled this morning, and I was on a different flight, and I texted, just go hang with Matt Grego and Derek Lunsford today. That's what they did. They went to the gym.
Oh, did he? So he basically missed. He's going to be missing school tomorrow, basically.
He flies at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. Chris is the worst parent. Probably your wife is probably like going crazy, telling him, "You better get back to school." And Chris is like, "Dad, take the day. Hang out with Grego."
Dave, Matt is listening. He may call in. I told. Me and Matt Grego are so much on the same wavelength. I told Matt when his flight was canceled, I said, don't let Fareed do any schoolwork. And he said, I already told him, no schoolwork. We're going to the gym and having fun.
Yeah. All right, that's good.
Because I was out there for a long period of time. Fareed only came in very late on Thursday, and I said, you missed a lot of fun this week.
Yeah.
That I had, and I said you would have loved to have been here. And I'm the same way, Dave. If it came to when I was in college, my studies came first and last, and my whole entire life revolved around it. And I went for nutrition and exercise physiology, and I'm totally anti-science. I told Matt Grego, I said, I don't believe in science. I don't use anything that I learned for contest prep.
You do, but you don't realize it. But you do. You're very knowledgeable. You like to pretend you're not that knowledgeable, but you're very knowledgeable. By the way, I want to just remind people there's another 3 hours. We have the Species Nutrition Sale going on. It's the Arnold sale. It's we've a lot of people have purchased. You can get a free Amino Evolved strawberry watermelon flavor if you spend $75 or more. The whole site is 30% off if you use the coupon code ARNOLD30 on checkout. And it's free shipping within the continental United States if you spend $100 or more. So, guys, you have 3 hours left. Don't cry to me. It will be over after that. All right. Wanted to get that little plug in there. Xavier said, congrats, Chris. Lunsford and Grego brought their best ever. So did Andrew Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Akeem was very impressive. Close, but I thought he was.
I had Akeem in fourth, so
I did too. But I can clearly see. I understand the dynamics with that physique. I'm a big fan also of Brandon, and Brandon had a good package. So if you're, I see the attraction with having. They're two totally different physiques. I mean, in terms.
I thought Akeem's legs destroyed Brandon's legs. That's why I had him over him.
Side chest and side tricep abs and most muscular all destroy them, but there's a certain flow to it with good condition and good mass that make it very appealing in terms of where you place.
Brandon has a better back than Akeem does, and I think that's what put him up ahead of him. So I can understand, because I know look on that Olympia and Arnold level, and if you guys haven't noticed this, I'm going to point it out again. The backs are very important. They really, Derek won the show because of his back. So, judges at that elite Olympia level really are looking for well-developed backs. And if you have a weak back, it holds you back, unless you're at a show where the show is weaker. I think Akeem has that issue. I know Carlos Thomas. That was, if we're going to talk about him, I thought he was his best, but I think he still needs. He's a little shallow in the back, and it doesn't pop. And when you stand against guys like Brandon Curry and what's his name, William Bonac, you're going to see these guys have such detail and such density in their backs. There's no way a guy like Carlos is going to beat those guys until he brings his back up, and that's just part of the process. Bodybuilding is about getting better every single year. Akeem took him a long time to get his back as good as it is. He has very high attached lats, but his back is 1,000 times better than when I was helping him as an amateur. So it's a work in progress, and that's what people have to understand. Everyone's constantly working to get better. Andrew has gotten better the last 3 years, but he's still not there yet, and that's probably why he didn't win this show. If his legs have come up a little bit more, I think that he's a very dangerous guy. If I were the guys in the top 3, I'd be very scared of Andrew Jack, because this guy is going to, if he ever comes into his own and puts together the winning look that we know he's capable of, he's going to beat everyone, because he's the biggest guy up there, and he's got really good conditioning. He proved that he can come in shape. He's wider than Samson. He's taller than Samson. He's got a smaller waist than all these guys. I think he's the future. The only thing he's got working against him is he's a little bit, he's not a young guy, but he's the way his body responds every single year. I mean, how much muscle did you say he put on from the Olympia?
I don't know, but just to add to that, if
he looks like he's about 10 pounds bigger.
If I give Derek's leg diet to Andrew Olympia, then it could be a straight first show.
Yeah. By the way, thank you, King Kamali, Armand Adibi, and Amina Lai for doing that great live pregame show, or not pregame show, the live show during the Friday night and Saturday night. It was very popular, and you guys did a great job. The question we're getting from a lot of people, Chris, is, was this the best Derek ever? In other words, was Derek better here than we'd seen him when he won the Olympia? I think that's really what it amounts to, because, that was the previous best Derek we had seen. Obviously, at the Olympia this past year, he had some problems. From his own mouth, when I interviewed him, he said that, he was overtrained. He felt like he was the prep didn't go as planned for the Olympia, and this was the best prep he had ever done. I think this is the best he's ever looked. You're his coach. What do you think?
It's like a rhetorical question.
Well, it's
not even the same person who won the Olympia when he won the Olympia.
Yeah.
He will tell you that, not me.
Mm-hmm. No, he did, and he did
I'll
say
tell
that.
you, can't get him on the show, just in case.
we interviewed him yesterday, so that he said that in the interview. So I thought it was, and like I said, I don't know if sometimes, sometimes you have to just change things up. Whatever he was doing before worked to a certain degree, but it stopped working at some point, and it was working against him. And I think that really messed his head up too, because, you go into the Olympia and you lose the Olympia the year after. Most guys go in there and they win the next year, and they solidify their legacy. He went in there and lost, and I think it really messed from his own words, he said he was very depressed, and he was, out of it. And I know a lot of people, between you, and he had guys like Jay and Phil talking to him and, really trying to, give him the mindset of a champion, because he had the tools physically. I think he just was doubting his abilities, emotionally and mentally. And I think that was important, that you guys pulled him out of the gutter, obviously. And you said it when I asked you in the wrap up. You said, I said, how did you do it? And you said one brick at a time, essentially, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is a process. Getting ready for a show, the way I prep people is a process, and you do what you normally do, but you just become hyper aware of your shortcomings. And the shortcomings has always been, look, Dave, the reality is his legs were bigger than ever. His condition was far better than it's been. He's never had a line in his pecs, and they were striated. He's never had a line in his delt. He's never had abs.
Never had abs, yeah, that's for sure.
Those are like, if you want to compare him to his win at the Olympia, it's like it's like he took 2 off seasons and got the best anabolic stack and let the dice roll.
Yeah. Well, sometimes when people are overtraining or overdoing it, they're holding themselves back. I had this conversation with Lee Haney, and I had this conversation with Dorian. And Lee Haney told me, I said, what did you do before that last Olympia that you went against Dorian? Were you worried that, Dorian might beat you? And is that why you looked your best? He goes, Dave, you want to know what it was? I trained less. He goes, I was overtraining. And I didn't realize it. And someone had mentioned to him that, why don't you, stop training everything twice a week, and he did that. And he said, I got bigger and I looked better. Dorian Yates said the same thing. I said, what did you do from 92 to 93? Because remember, he made that huge jump. He looked like he gained 30 pounds of stage weight. He goes, I was over dieting. He goes, I thought I had to get more and more ripped. And I realized that I was already ripped at 260. I didn't, 265. I didn't need to be 245 or 250 to be, ultra shredded. And it was just taking away some of my wow factor. So, I mean, I think it seems like that's what was going on with Derek. Maybe, him and when Hani and him were working together, Hani might have kept trying to push him harder and harder because everyone was criticizing his abs. They weren't coming in. So what do people do? They think if you diet harder, they're going to come in better. And a lot of times it makes it worse. And I think that's what happened. He lost his legs, obviously. His abs were looking terrible, washed out. And now he's got huge legs on stage this past weekend. His abs were the best they had been. He's never going to have Ali Bilal abs, but his abs were probably better. He probably had the best ab thigh shot of the top 3. And it all worked out the right way. So, congratulations to you for realizing what was going on, Who was more difficult to get in shape, Derek or Akeem? It's a loaded question.
No, Akeem is harder to get in shape, and probably 9 out of 10 people prepping him would fail miserably.
Yeah.
And people could come up with it, and you know this, Dave.
I prepped him. I know it's hard.
Well, no, I mean, people will say like, well, all you have to do is put on towards cardio and no carbs, or they say, all you do is cut the fat. So all you got to do is this. All you got to do is that. I guarantee, if I said, okay, you prep Akeem to somebody else, you would see a disaster.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Because in contest prep, part of chopping that wood, it meant that the metaphor was stacking the wood. You
stacking wood, right? That's what you said.
Day, and I actually do this, Dave, and I've mentioned it on this show. Is I don't do a lot of stuff that I just like. A lot of other people like you would pay to have someone cut your grass, clean your pool, stack your wood,
right?
Stacking wood. But the metaphor, and it's a life lesson, is that the guy comes and he drops 1,000,000 pieces of wood in my driveway, and I take 2 pieces at a time and I stack it, and it takes me like 4 days.
Yeah.
But when it's done, it's done. And, when you start stacking it, you've stacked 40 pieces, 80 pieces, 100 pieces. Then you're exhausted and you rest and you take a break. But you see what you've accomplished. But you see, that there's a lot more work ahead. And with contest prep, I think, like with, there's no magic answers, and you take it day by day or a few pieces of wood at a time, and you reevaluate, and you see, like, you look up and you say, oh my gosh, I put in all this work so far and I've stacked nothing. I've done 2 days of stacking, and I got 4 to 6 more days to go. I've done 5 weeks of dieting, and I look at my body and there's not many changes. And in some people's bodies, like Akeem's, you're out there doing the work, he's doing the diet, and a whole week goes by. That's a long period of time to be working really hard. And what's better? Not much, So you got to be flexible in your prep. But to answer the question, Akeem is really challenging, but I like the challenge. And I thought he looked great. And I thought at the night show he looked, spectacular.
Yeah, it was good. He seems to come in better the second day always. Yeah.
Saturday night.
Mr. Saturday night. But, I got to say, winning the Arnold obviously was good for Derek's confidence. And obviously it definitely puts him in a position where he's got to be considered, one of the favorites going into the Olympia because he just beat, a very good Sampson. If anything, I would say Sampson was pretty comparable to what he was at the Olympia.
Well, Sampson, I'll tell you exactly. Sampson was just as hard as he was at the Olympia, and he was in the Olympia.
Yeah, he was bigger. He definitely was bigger. Yeah.
And that was a thoughtful play because that's what won him the Olympia, and he came in here and even bigger and beefier, rounder, and that if that's what's winning shows for you, that's you continue to do what what's your formula is and what's effective for you, and in this case it's size, and he obviously has a ton.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what the interesting thing is that the point I wanted to make was, I don't know what was better for Derek here, the win for his mental state or the $500,000. We brush over it like it's not a big deal because in bodybuilding, we do this because we love it. We would do it for free. But, this is not like 5 or 6 or 10 years ago. This is a lot of money. Derek won $500,000, $500,000 at the Olympia. Granted, he's got to pay taxes on some of that. But he was just telling me how he's opening, he has his own gym and he's opening up, he's going to open up to the public. And this is great. This guy is starting a business. I mean, was a really smart move on his part, to do this show. And I'm sure that's why Sampson did it. He wanted that money too. And I'm sure Sampson was more upset that he didn't win the $500,000 than he lost to Derek, because Sampson's a very good sport and a very good guy. And I don't think he's a sore loser by any means. And I'm sure he'll come back, better for the Olympia. But there is a question that, I want to bring up. And, I brought it up in the wrap up, and I want to bring it up here just in case people hadn't seen the wrap up. But, it seems as though Sampson is the only bodybuilder out there that seems to get a pass on conditioning. And when I say that, I'm not saying the guy is out of shape, but we haven't seen Sampson bring the level of conditioning that we see from Derek, that's expected from Andrew, that we see from Brandon on stage. These guys, he's coming in, close to his best, but never quite peaking.
Let me ask you a question back.
What?
Let me ask you a question back.
Okay. Yeah.
If Sampson had Andrew's condition, would he have won?
If Sampson had Andrew, yes, he would have.
Yeah.
Yes, he would have. And so that's the point I'm making. Why is, number one, why can't Sampson achieve this condition? And number two, is it because the judges reward him when he doesn't achieve that conditioning? So he figures, well, I don't need it. If I won the Olympia, without being peaked, to the max, shredded like Ronnie Coleman and Dorian and Jay were back in the day, then what? Why am I gonna push any harder than this? Because this is good enough. And I think that this is his vulnerability. He's the biggest guy on stage. He's got great shape. We love to see him. I thought he was a great Mr. Olympia, because he's such a big man. And then, he's vulnerable because he doesn't bring the conditioning. So Derek, a guy who's a lot shorter than him, who probably shouldn't beat Sampson, is beating him because Sampson is leaving the door open. And I don't know what the reason is that he can't seem to bring his conditioning in, Even Ramy pulled it off at the end. He got his conditioning in the way he needed to. So
it's a good question. I think that answers itself. I asked you that question because I knew if he brought Andrew's condition, because Andrew's a big guy, would he have won? And the answer is highly likely yes.
Because I'm dying to see Sampson at his best on stage. I want to see that wacky shrink wrapped inside out conditioning. And we haven't seen it yet from him. So maybe we'll see it at the Olympia. Do you think that Sampson's going to shut it down now till the Olympia? I would suggest that he probably does at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not doing any more shows.
He's got to be a little burnt out, I would think, yeah.
Look, it was a 4-month reign.
Yeah. That's about it. Well, he's still the reigning Mr. Olympia, even though you lost the Arnold. He's still the Mr. Olympia. You still got to beat him on that Olympia stage. Derek obviously has a very good shot at that. Andrew has a very good shot at that. Obviously, Nick Walker has a good shot at that. Hadi Chopin, who wasn't here, has a good shot at that. So it might be one of the best Olympias of all time come the end of the year.
It's going to be the best. It's going to be the best of all time because this, if minus out Derek, right?
Yeah.
Minus out Derek, Samson would have won.
Yeah.
Minus out Derek in this condition, he probably would have ended up third if he was in his Olympia condition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inter would have beaten him easy.
Yeah.
So, and I'm framing that because when you asked me, like, I mean, I think Derek can win the Olympia. I think Samson can win the Olympia. I think Andrew can win the Olympia, and I think Hadi can win the Olympia. Those are people, depending on how they come into the show. Those four absolutely can win the Olympia.
Hey, let's not count out Martin Fitzwater, who's making monumental improvements.
Martin, it will be a factor.
He almost beat Derek at the Olympia.
Well, good Vito may be a factor, and he hasn't even done a show.
What is he doing this year?
He's doing in Brazil in a few weeks.
Oh, well, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think he's coming to Pittsburgh. He may.
Wow, he should. There's a lot of money at stake. He's got a ton of muscle on his body. But I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's. What else do I want to talk about? I have my list. Oh, so when they gave Derek the Best Poser Award, did you get a little nervous? Like, this could be a consolation prize.
100%, because in my mind, the contrarian play was, I don't think the judges favor Samson as being Mr. Olympia, like the current Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
But he's current Mr. Olympia. In other words, coming into the show, the person the judges wanted to see was Samson, because we were expecting what he delivered, huge Samson. And, there was an expectation that Andrew will be Andrew and Derek will be Derek, and it's going to be Samson's show. So although he may be highly under scrutiny, to some degree, as long as he looks similar to the Olympia, he'd be the go-to guy. And so when the awards were coming out, and I heard there was an award for Best Poser, and they gave it to Derek, I thought, oh wow, I wonder if that plays a role. I wonder maybe it's really close, and you have these just two totally different physiques. One shorter, one bigger.
Yeah.
One harder, one just more freaky round, like through the arms and shoulders. Samson.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never know. People have different who judge have different perspectives on what they think the best body is up there on stage. That's why you have the endless comparisons, So I thought, gosh, maybe Samson's going to win at the end.
I think that the reason why we've been seeing guys going back and forth, usually, you have Mr. Olympia, he's the guy to beat. They always say you got to knock off the Mr. Olympia to beat him. And it's usually that the onus of knocking him off is usually a very high ceiling that you have to reach. But I think what's different in this day and age, this last 5 years or so, is that there's been and Jay said this too in the interview, there's been an exchange of Mr. Olympia so many times, like Derek won, then Hadi won one, Samson won one, Brandon won one. There's so many different Mr. Olympias that they're all valid Mr. Olympias. And so the judges are just saying, you know what, we're gonna really judge what's up there. And if Samson's not his best and Derek's better, we're gonna put Derek up there. And if Hadi's better than Derek, then Hadi's gonna beat Derek. And it's not gonna matter who's Mr. Olympia, who's the Arnold champ. We're just gonna pick the right guy, which I think is the right thing to do. And I think that's why there's been a lot of excitement, because when there's championships being exchanged, and different people are winning, and it's the right person who's winning, which has been the case the past couple of years, I think the fans get more excited about it, because now we don't know who's going to win, right? We got 4 Mr. Olympias in the lineup, and they all potentially have the potential to win the show.
Yeah, and going back to that, when they gave Samson the most muscular, then I thought, okay, Derek is going to win.
Yeah, that's what I thought so. Yeah.
Because he deserves to win the most muscular.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely
to not the credit of the judges, because that's not the right word. I think in the comparisons, I think obviously your eyes would go back if you're looking only at Samson and Derek. They go back to Derek, so that's like the winner.
Yeah.
Even though he's beating the guy who's the most muscular. So like I thought, okay, they got the most muscular right, then maybe, then I think Derek's gonna end up, first.
You really could justify that Andrew was the most muscular guy. I mean, maybe not in the legs, but his upper body was certainly the most muscular of anyone up there. So I would have had no problem with Andrew winning most muscular, but that's, that was, I don't even know who votes on these things. I think the Arnold people vote on it, right?
Yeah, I don't know who. Maybe does the live stream people vote on it, or is that
No, I think it's just the Arnold people pick it. I see Lee Priest in the comments.
What do you have?
Lee? We missed you at the Arnold, Lee. I wish you were there, but you were not. What's going on with Patrick Moore? Because I heard he was bad mouthing you. I mean, you had a very good weekend. Obviously, all your guys did well. Somehow, Patrick Moore was not being very nice to you. What was going on with that?
Well, I helped Patrick for 6 weeks, which is different than other people who I helped for minimum 12.
Right.
So go back to that stack and wood metaphor, but I was on my A game this week, Dave, which means I go to ask Akeem how many times I was in Akeem's room.
Well, you were there for like the whole week too. You got there early.
The entire week. I tell people this. I'm going for the week. I will give you 10 times what you ever expected in the final week. Things will go mostly 100% perfect, but I need access to you. And I didn't get a chance to see, I didn't get a chance. Well, of those people who I was helping, there's a process to this. And I will tell you this, my honest opinion.
Yeah.
If you came to Andrew's room 6 days out, you would say he may be ninth. And if you came to Derek's room 6 days out, you'll say he's not sharp enough. He's going to be third. So every day counts. Every visit counts. Every hour counts. If you want to get that wood from the driveway stacked. And I didn't get a chance. People were either 1 minute from where I was staying, literally, or they were on the same floor, Akeem, Matt, Derek, at a hotel. Their rooms were 10 feet from each other.
You know what was very funny? Just
the point, Dave, is Akeem, which I think was a mistake, except it was probably he came in Wednesday night, which is late.
Late, yeah.
I can tell you that Andrew came in. I went out there for Andrew. Andrew came in like 9 days out because he had like a 32-hour travel time, and I came out. Right. I came out the same day he came out, and I think all those days were important. And Matt Grego came out a week out, and I think, or 6 days, and Derek and anyways, so all those days are important. And Akeem came out, 2 days out, Wednesday night, but I did see him at 12:30 at night, and I saw him at 5 a.m., 8 a.m., 11, 2 in the afternoon, and 6 p.m. And Patrick came out Wednesday, but I didn't get to see him Thursday, and I saw him twice on Thursday. And Nunts, which is in Cedoism for no times on Friday. So did he look like he could have looked? No. End of story.
Okay. To me, he didn't look bad. I think his legs just are down in size a little bit, but I don't I don't think that had anything to do with you. I think that just has to do with the fact that his legs need to be bigger still. It was a tough lineup. It was the Olympia lineup, and what did he finish at the Olympia when he did it at his best? 10th. So he was 10th here. I mean, it was ostensibly the Olympia lineup that they, up on that stage. And with the exception of missing, a couple of missing guys like Hottie and Nick, but and Martin. So, but there's still, the competition was very tough.
Nick hasn't been in the Olympia in 2 years, Dave. So what is your point?
No, but I'm saying normally he's a top guy.
He's been in the show once.
He was a top guy.
Twice.
He was a top 5 guy. Yeah. So I'm just saying he wasn't there. That's all I'm saying. You don't think he'll be? Do you think Nick will be was a top 5 guy again or no?
There's no. I just said there's 4 guys who contended for the Olympia. So those 4 are going to be hard to get by. Period.
I agree with you.
Period.
So
that's not to say Nick can't, but those top 3 physiques from the Arnold, add in Hottie.
It's tough.
Look at the picture on the NPC News. The top 6 was a good top 6. The top very good. The top 3, I thought, were just blazing. I mean, blazing. It goes back to Samson's condition, but I mean, Sam. I wouldn't call him blazing, but it is a great package that he brought in terms of like density and size.
That's a great top 4 right there.
That's what it's phenomenal.
I mean, like I said, it's an Olympia top 4.
Brandon was not training in Kuwait. What's that mean?
It means that Brandon's a talented bodybuilder in his own right. Yeah, that's what it means. I love Derek on that side shot, man. That was a great side chest shot. He really, really improved this. Look at the leg. His leg is like, just like, it looks like someone just carved lines in it. It's really impressive. And you know what? Andrew's leg never looked that good either from the side. That was the best I've ever seen his leg look.
Yeah, as much as I talk about, can say about Derek, if you just dissect that Andrew physique, it's freaky.
Yeah, but look at this back shot. I mean, Derek's the shortest guy up there.
Yeah, Derek's back shot is completely.
This is like a fucking like slam dunk right here. This is what won it in my mind. There's 2 back shots.
Well, you know what, you have to when you're judging a show like this. Pause it, Dave, for a second.
Yeah.
When you're judging a show like this, there are shots that Andrew is stunning and astounding in. So if he's stunning and astounding, you have to nitpick to find the winners, and you have to go for, okay, what else does he need? And the obvious is, he doesn't. You immediately answer that question with, well, he doesn't have the legs from behind and the thickness of the legs of Samson. You say, well, yeah, but he's in a lot better condition. Well, it doesn't matter if, because you're trying to look for the freaky factor. Right. He has a freaky condition, freaky knockout shots, but then what else? Where can I tear him apart? And that's why you start to talk about, moving on to Samson, the balance is so beneficial with the mass that you start to say, okay, he's the biggest guy on stage. He's in good shape. He's got some, knockout shots, most muscular. Side chest is almost, I consider that mostly knockout shot. So, you start trying to nitpick, which is like the only way you can nitpick him there is the condition. And Derek had the knockout back shot, which was completely knockout. But then you start to look for weaknesses. In this Derek, you couldn't find the weaknesses in terms of like the side shots, which would have been a weakness. Or, the condition has been a weakness. You know what I mean? Like in terms of striations and stuff like that, details have been a weakness.
Right.
So you end up trying to nitpick, but besides nitpicking, you want something that is astounding without like major weaknesses. Like if Derek had that same exact back double and he didn't have the chest striations, he would have lost the show.
Yeah, I agree.
Period. Yeah. Because we've been doing the wrap up, and you'd say, why can't Derek get the striations in the chest?
Right. No. He brought a better look than we'd ever seen before, and that's what won the show for him, really, essentially. I mean, in a nutshell.
Which all of that, you know what I mean? Having said all of that, I still say that, throw Hardy at his best, Derek at his best, Samson at his best, and Andrew, what can be his best and will be his best going forward, because he keeps bringing his best. That is a magnificent. The Olympia people benefited most from this show.
Why do you say that?
Because who cares if Samson had won and we all drive out to Vegas to see him defend? Now we're talking about, like, well, he can still win it. Derek could win it. Andrew could win it. Hardy might light a fire. Hardy might be sitting in Iran pissed and saying, like, why are they talking about these guys? I beat them all many times.
Right.
So it creates an unbelievable run up, and then throw in your guy, Nick Walker. Guy's competing.
I'm going to talk about Kai in a minute because I interviewed him, but let's. I want to go back.
It's going to be fireworks
With what?
for the Olympia.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, 100%. No, but I wanted to bring up. Let's talk about Classic real quickly. I don't want to go into the whole thing again, because if you want to watch our wrap, we have a great wrap up you can watch about that. But I asked Steve Weinberger, why Mike Sommerfeld beat Logan, and he said it was close. And he said that Logan just has to bring up a couple body parts, but he just felt that Mike was the overwhelmingly better. And I think what Logan did here was probably the most impressive improvement I've ever seen. A guy make from one year to another, because this is a guy who was having trouble getting to the Olympia, and now he's almost beating the guy who's probably the heir apparent to the Olympia crown, the guy who came in second to Chris Bumstead, and who a lot of people think beat Bumstead at the last Olympia. So this was a tremendous battle. It was very close, and I think it was very exciting for bodybuilders. As a matter of fact, Chris Bumstead said that he felt, I don't agree with him, but he felt that the Classic division is more entertaining now than the Open division.
He's wrong.
I agree too. I agree with you.
It's a great division. I love it.
Yeah.
But it's like, people still like big ugly houses over 1,000 square foot houses.
It's amazing that Sommerfeld, and I've said this so many times that I'm actually making myself nauseous from saying, but I don't know how the guy makes weight. He's so big. It's like the legs are, legs hold. I mean, if you look at his legs compared to Logan's, they're a lot bigger, and legs weigh a lot. I don't know how the legs, with the size that they are, that he's able to make that weight class. It's just unbelievable. He looks really like an open bodybuilder with good shape, but he poses, like you and I said in the wrap up, he poses like a Classic guy, and I think that's how he bamboozles us into selling us on the fact that he's a Classic guy. How would a guy like him do in the Open, you think, if he put on another 10 pounds?
Not good.
You don't think so? So you don't think he's big? You don't think he's big enough? Is that why you're saying that?
Bonac would eat him up, and Bonac place in the show.
Gotcha. All right.
That's the right.
That's the Reader's Digest answer, yeah, as they say.
Nobody knows Reader's Digest.
So no one reads anymore. But so I interviewed Kai, and I'm going to give you the Kai story. Kai is working for Rico Barakat, who used to own NPC clothing wear. He sold it back to the Manions. They're taking over the NPC clothing line, and he started this new company. And Kai is actually a minority owner of the company, which Kai was very, very happy about. And they launched this company at the Arnold here. And I asked Kai, I said, listen, I said, you're teasing everyone again. This happens every couple of years. I said, you're telling people you never retired, which I could back that up because I never heard you say you were retiring. I said, but you're teasing people as though you're going to compete again. And at this point, I said, it almost is like the boy who cried wolf. No one believes you anymore because you keep teasing us and you don't give us anything. I said, are you thinking about getting on stage at possibly the Masters Olympia? And don't make up a story. If you're not going to do it, just tell us you're not going to do it. He's like, no. He goes, so from what I gathered from the interview, Chris, is if the money is right, he wants some sort of an appearance fee. In other words, if they're going to use him to sell the Masters Olympia or whatever show that he happens to do, he wants in on the action. And I don't blame him.
He misunderstands his drawing power, but go ahead.
Right. Well, I think for the Masters Olympia, he would have more drawing power than maybe the Open Olympia because I think, he's past his prime at this point. But, if I'm the guys in Japan and, getting Kai Green there to compete is certainly going to help them sell out that arena. There's no doubt about that, especially in Japan where they think that, Kai Green is Godzilla. So if they can sweeten the pot, I think, and that's the impression I got from him, and they can make the money work. He didn't say any numbers or anything like that. I think that he would get on stage. That's the impression he left me with.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in Japan he'd have drawing power, but if the show was in Chicago and it was the Masters Olympia and Kai was competing, I don't think it would have a financial impact on the show as it would somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree with that. But it is in Japan. So, I mean.
And is Phil going to be coaching him?
I didn't get that impression.
Is Phil going to be given a mental pep talk?
I'll tell you this. The guys who were involved in running the company had to get Kai food. They said the food bill for the weekend was so astronomical because he eats 2 entrees at every fucking meal, and he has to eat 6 times a day. He still eats as though he's getting ready for the Olympia. So I have to believe that, why would anyone else still do that? Why would someone train and eat as if they're getting on the biggest stage in their life if they didn't have in their back of their head an inkling that they might want to still compete? So I don't think it's out of his system. That's the impression I got from talking to him. He still would like to get up there, but I think he would like a little bit of an enticement for that. Now, we know in the history of bodybuilding, I don't think anyone's ever paid anyone an enticement fee to go and compete at a show. So he might be waiting, the old expression, waiting for Godot.
Yeah.
He might be waiting a very long time before he sees any checks thrown into his pocketbook.
I mean, who would have thought that someone was, the Olympia was going to give out $700,000 first prize money.
There you go. So, look, the Olympia has no problem selling itself out. We already know that they sell out in one day. The tickets go up, so that's not a problem. But you know what? I don't know if the Masters Olympia is going to sell itself out. Brandon Curry made it this past week and said he committed to doing the Masters Olympia. And I have to believe with him placing 4th at this show, he is the number 1 guy right now.
Okay.
I don't think there's anyone who can beat him at this point, right?
No.
Now, I don't know if would Ramy ever do the Masters Olympia, you think?
No.
Okay. So then Brandon's got to be the guy to beat, I would think. Maybe Kai versus Brandon would be a great battle. I don't know.
You don't have any interest in doing the Masters.
Who?
You.
Me? No, I'm done. Chris, I'm done. I'm not even. I got to win a pro card first. I'd have to do the Masters Olympia. I mean, the Masters Nationals first. And I think my days of putting on the posing suit is over. I look in the mirror and I want to throw up. I'm like Arnold.
You could get ready for the Masters.
You can coach me, okay?
And, no, you could take a feather out of Sean Ray's cap and you could prep yourself because you're a contest prep guy.
No, you could prep me. I'll pay you in Fiberlize. Do I get a freebie since we've been friends for so long?
No, I don't want to throw people under the bus, but some people, yeah.
Maybe Sean Ray can prep me.
Some people owe me money. I don't want to. I already posted on my Instagram once who owed me money. And
I interviewed Sergio Oliva Jr., who's also working for a new company out there.
Yeah.
And him and Guy Cisternino are working for this company. And
So where is it? What company is it? It's in Miami.
oh, yeah, you know what? Now, what is it, Sid? Can you just help me out with the name of the company? I forgot already. Applied Nutrition, right? Sorry about that. So we did a nice interview at the booth, and Sergio is thinking very, very seriously. Oh, Sergio's the one who told me that he was using that coach. Sergio is thinking about doing the FIBO show in 8 weeks.
Yeah,
so,
big. I saw him.
Yeah, he's over. He looks like he won't tell me his weight, but he looks like he's over 300 pounds.
Yeah, he's 302. He told me, but I told him.
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah.
He's really big. He's a little nervous, he said, because you're the only guy who's ever really prepped him. He never used anyone else, he said.
Well, look at there's a lot of scientific coaches out there. I can't believe the earth is flat.
Yeah. So I would love to see Sergio on stage, though. He looked, like I said, he looks really big, and it seems like he's hungry. He went through a lot of fucking craziness over there in Dubai, and he's like, I said, you live in more places than any guy I know, except for Mike Sommerfeld, of course. And he's like, nah, really, I don't think so. And then we started listing off all the places that he actually has lived. Yeah. And he's like, well, yeah, I think you're right. He was in Australia for a while. Now he's in Vegas. He was in California. He was in Dubai.
I think he was stuck in Australia.
Yeah, stuck in Australia. Yeah, he told me. Yeah, for COVID. And then he got stuck in Dubai, and he was actually talking about the jail experience there. He said it was very unpleasant. Yeah. I didn't realize it was that unpleasant, but if you watch the interview, you'll see what he says.
Yeah, it was the real deal.
You know how when people get so big that they look like he's like a giant almost. I've never seen him so. He's just massive. His head is even big, and his arms and his shoulders. He looks like his father almost. Yeah. Really, in his older age, he's definitely look more and more like his dad.
Yeah, I think he looks a lot like him.
Yeah.
He looks more like his dad than you do like your dad.
No, he definitely looks. Well, they're like cut from the same cloth for sure. Yeah. So we had a good time talking with Sergio and Kai and. What else do I want to? My cats. So I got to just say something about my cat. I've known my cats a long time. I know you have too. And Arnold gave him the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I'm sure you could find the speech someplace. But Arnold gave my cats such a great speech and build up to who he was and what he's all about. And I think that he made Mike Katz his whole life, because Mike Katz was always the guy who was getting disrespected. They were playing practical jokes on him. Waller stole his T-shirt, the old, the pumping iron. Arnold was telling a story about him and Franco. They would bring Mike Katz over to the house, and they would put schnapps in his coffee, and they would get him drunk, and he would pass out. And they would play practical jokes on him, and Mike was always like the practical joke, the brunt of the practical jokes. But Arnold gave him such a stellar, speech about what a good human being he was, and then Mike came up there, and I didn't know that Mike had cancer, and Mike is a cancer survivor, and he looked, he wasn't walking, so he's an old guy now, he's an older man, and he went up there and was in tears, really. Arnold brought him to tears, because I think that Arnold, he always wanted validation from Arnold, and because he obviously looked up to Arnold a lot, and he got that validation at the show, and that Lifetime Achievement Award probably meant more to him than every show he ever won or every other accolade he ever got. So, kudos to Arnold on that one, and I thought that was very touching. I was touched by it. I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah, it's fun. I think I'd known my cats indirectly since I was 16.
Did you ever train in his gym when he had that gym up there in Connecticut?
He had the East Coast. It was called the East Coast. It was in New Haven, or outside. It was
right, New Haven. That's exactly, I think, where it was. Right.
We drove down there. I was supposed to compete with he had a high school Mr. America contest or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we couldn't find it. I went down to compete.
Are you sure you couldn't find it?
Yeah, because we didn't have an iPhone, and we didn't. Me and my friends went, or a kid I used to train with. Down there, and by the time we showed up, the show was over.
Wow.
We were late.
Interesting.
And
Oh yeah, there it is. That's good catch to sit on that picture. Yeah, that's a great picture of Arnold, of Mike. He was choked up. He really it meant a lot that Arnold did that. And Arnold spent a long time giving that speech, and you could tell Arnold didn't pre-write that. Arnold spoke that speech from his heart.
yeah.
He really did. And like I said, that's why I think it was really so touching. You know, I didn't know Arnold was going to do that, because they show, what they do is they show like a little bio on videos on the screen, and then they usually Arnold will go up there and say 2 words and introduce the guy, and then and that's it. But Arnold spent a lot of time, talking about him, and Arnold definitely appreciates his friends from the old days. I mean, the Best Poser Award is named after Ed Corney now, so it's the Ed Corney Best Poser Award, which is what Derek won. The Most Muscular Award is now the Franco Columbo Most Muscular Award. So he's immortalized those guys basically by naming those awards after them. And to give Mike Katz a Lifetime Achievement Award, it was very, very apropos, I would say. What we didn't hear from Arnold was we didn't hear him raising the prize money, which was a prediction that you had made, and maybe he'll.
I thought Arnold was going to pull out of his like a check for 100 to say instead of 500 it's 600.
Or no, you thought he might go to $1 million too, right? Or Lee Priest told you.
I actually said I on this show, I think I said 700 because I did predict it with Jake last year. Not only the number, but that they would do it.
Right. Well, I'm sure Jake would.
My new prediction is Jake is going to make some type of announcement. Jake and Dan, and they'll probably increase the prize money somehow above and beyond where it is now.
You think they might go higher? What they should do is they should give away that watch that Jay Cutler had. What was that Rolex he had?
Well, I don't.
We got to call Ali Bilal. He knew that Rolex very well.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm not a big watch guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't own a watch. Actually, I do have one watch someone gave me. I told you that story about the watch.
You have the Rolex. You never took it out of the packaging, right?
Somebody gifted me a watch in '96, and I think it was worth like 20 grand back then. So I kept it. It's been kept in the box and never taken out of the box since '96. And I didn't have kids, and I thought I am going to keep this.
Right.
If I ever need money for college.
There you go.
Or if I want to make a comeback and put together a good cycle for myself. I need a lot of money.
Real quick, why did Ali Bilal win?
What's that?
Why did Ali? Hold on, it's not popping up. Hold on. Why did Ali Bilal? I'm gonna pull up the picture. Why did Ali Bilal beat Aaron Banks? What was your take on this one?
Oh, Aaron Banks was the story of the weekend for me. I went to the prejudging and the classic prejudging. Dave, I sat so close. It's so intimate, that classic, that I was helping Matt Grego. And I was talking to him while he was, when they say, okay, 3, 5, and 8 back and they go to the right?
Yeah.
And I said, Matt, you have too much oil on. He said, okay. Or sweating. I didn't say like make hand motions, too much oil. That's how close it was. So I went to the men's physique prejudging. And someone had mentioned that it was going to be this matchup between Aaron Banks and Ali Bilal, and they called 4. This is very specific. They called 4, and I did not recognize Aaron Banks. Aaron was on the end, and to the best of my recollection, and I watched it pretty carefully to see the comparisons, because I thought this kid from Brazil was like a clear second. And I realized, I said to my son, I guess that's Aaron Banks. I know what Aaron Banks, everyone know what Aaron Banks looks like. He was on the 4th position, and he just looked ashy, like his color off. He looked in the face, not.
Oh, there I go.
He looked, I couldn't tell if he, God, I don't think I've ever seen him out of shape. He looked like, I didn't know if he was flat. I didn't know if he was like out of shape or not in his best shape. And that was it. prejudging ended.
But you know what? You told me at the prejudging, and I think the answers to your question. You said the prejudging expo lighting was actually too bright, and you said that when the guys were standing off to the side, they actually looked better. And I think that's what happened to Aaron's coloring. Ollie was so dark that it didn't bother him, but I think Aaron actually got washed out.
No. Disregard that, because that was not the issue. The point I'm making is he did not look good in prejudging.
Mm-hmm.
And then he didn't look good. So I was trying to explain that he looked like ashy, he looked weak in the face, he had no pop to his muscle, he looked like he was not tight enough like I've seen him in the past. And I think he looked like a third at best or fourth place guy. And at the night show, like the second he came out, I thought, there's Aaron Banks. Like, this is a fantastic Aaron Banks at the night show. Like, no comparison to what showed up at the prejudging.
Yeah. Yeah, I was sitting.
Dave, hold it. I sat next to someone who follows men's physique, and we were talking, and he asked, how did, he said, Aaron looks good. I said, looks incredible. And I thought for sure he was fourth. He was not in the running to be second in the prejudging, in my mind. And he ended up second, which that's the point, is that he was so impressive at the night show that he landed in second. Yeah. I don't look at judges' scores or anything, any of the scores, but I would have him second in the finals, and I would have had him in fourth in the prejudging. So But the change, people come in tighter at night or tighter the next day or fuller the next day or fuller. But he came in like radically different at the night show.
Well, I was sitting next to his coach, who was a former, I kind of trained him, and I actually do his diet, Ariel Cutts. And Ariel was showing me pictures of him from the prejudging, and I thought he looked good in the pictures he was showing me, but I really think the lighting screwed him up.
No, it didn't. It wasn't the lighting, because he got the chance from me.
Yeah.
Look at him 8 feet away when you come out by yourself and by yourself.
Yeah.
So the impression was when he came out, I'm like, God, I've seen him a lot better.
Maybe his color was just really bad because you're right.
I mentioned too.
Yeah.
The skin was just, I don't know if maybe it was just down to like a little flat or
and then he definitely looked better at night. There's no doubt about that, because he was clearly second place there. And you know what? You could have made an argument from winning, but I think the Ollie's just overall overwhelming abdominal development is just insane, because Aaron actually has a better structure than Ollie, but Ollie has got so many bells and whistles to his physique that you can't take your eyes off the guy when he's on stage. It's unbelievable, And it was look. Usually we don't get excited about men's physique. I thought it was a really good battle, and it'll be interesting to see how Ryan Terry at the Olympia stacks up next to these two guys, because I think it's going to be a great battle on stage. One more thing I want to bring up before we wrap up, Chris. Sam Sulek, I guess he's taking over the Chris Bumstead role. Sam Sulek not only won his class, he got his pro card, and it's only his second show ever in the last 2 weeks. And
what did he win? He won what, the overall of the?
He won. Yeah, I think he won his class. That's all you have to do is win your class there, and you get the pro card.
The Japanese team has just decided to taking him out instead of Kai. More bad.
He's a little too young to do the Masters at Olympia, but
it's a promo.
Yeah, congratulations to Sam Sulek. So it was a great weekend. The Arnold people rolled out the red carpet, for us. You got tickets for you and your son. We had great seats in the press row there. We had full access to everything. We were backstage. We had they had the Arnold backdrop there. We did all the interviews. Jay and Phil and everyone was there. It was really, really enjoyable. He won the classic physique overall. Sorry about that. Thank you, Sid, for correcting that. I didn't know he won the overall. But the truth of the matter is that, this was probably one of the more enjoyable Arnolds I've ever gone to. I thought it was very well put together. David Bay, our good friend, was the MC of the show. But Bob Ciccarello had some kind of supposedly a run-in with the promoters. And he was there, and we were talking, but he was not emceeing. I don't want to go into what the reason was, because that's for him to discuss someplace else if he wants to do that. He's obviously still going to be doing the Olympia, but he's no longer doing the Arnold. And aside from that little hiccup, I think everything went really well. There was a lot of money given away. Angelica Teixeira retired. She was a former bikini Olympia champ. There was a wellness and fitness division that looked great up there, and and then of course the bikini division was Saturday night, and so there was there were different champions crowned, and I think that made the weekend exciting for the people who enjoy watching that. We don't really cover the women too much. Our crowd doesn't really care about them that much, but I think that they're good for the sport. Obviously, the place was sold out, so they did very well. The expo was packed to the hilt. I think that was great.
Thing, dude. It was so cool.
Couldn't even walk through there on Saturday. It was nuts. And that's what we hope for. I think it's, after that COVID years, the Arnold was not doing so well, the Arnold Classic. And I think it's back to its former splendor and glory. And I'm glad to see that, because that's good for the sport. And I think it's going to set up a really fun rest of the season. And I'm interested to see what's going to happen. And we have the Detroit show, Fuad show at the end of the month. I know Carlos Thomas will be doing that, as well as a few other guys. We have the Brazil show, like you said, the Arnold Brazil. I actually met the people who run the Arnold Brazil show, the promoters, very nice people. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Pittsburgh and New York will be in May, where Manuel will be giving away over $100,000 at that show. That's going to be a big, big show. And, of course, all the other shows leading up to the Olympia is going to be up in the air with the prize money. We have, I think, Bader is going to be giving away a ton of money over in Dubai. So there's a lot of chances for the bodybuilders to make a lot of money. I'm glad that Derek got to take home that $500,000. That's awesome. Ali Bilal, when I said, Ali, how much did you win? He goes, I don't even know. So he said he was giving it all to you, Chris, though. Did you know that?
No, he's probably giving it to charity.
I just want to thank everyone who helped us this whole weekend. Brandon, Sid, you, John Hansen, Milos, Dennis James, and of course, I want to thank Jay and Phil and Steve Weinberg for coming into that wrap up, and a little Ronnie Coleman, yeah, buddy, he gave us in the wrap up. It's always fun to have to see all our old friends in one big place. It's kind of like a reunion every single year. For now, though, Chris, we are out of time, as we say every week here with Heavy Muscle Radio.
The truth hurts.
We'll see you next week.